Hello and welcome to the Back Nine Report. My name is Carlos Torres, and along with Fred Altvater, we check in on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, previews. Here we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened in golf, we have it for you. And today, Fred, we're going to be bringing the massive wall to wall preview of the WGC Dell Technologies Match Play Championship. It's going to be played this weekend in Austin, Texas, just 3 hours from me. I'm tempted to go there, man. How are you today?
Well, pretty good, Carlos. Been two beautiful days here in Toledo. Just it's 70 degrees and sunny. It's just been, you can probably see my face a little red. I got a little bit of sunburn, I think, over the last couple of days. Been out giving some golf lessons. Um, hey, we got NCAA March Madness going on, right? Well, the PGA Tour is rolling out its imitation of the popular college basketball tournament, the WGC Dell Match Play, as you say, right down the road from you at Austin, Texas. After spending the past 4 weeks in the Sunshine State, the PGA Tour takes a break from Florida and heads over to Texas for a couple of weeks before the Masters here. So you've got the top players in the world right now in this match play thing. It's a WGC thing. But there's some guys that aren't here, Carlos. We don't have Brooks Koepka. We don't have Gary Woodland. We don't have Justin Rose, Adam Scott, and of course, Tiger's not here. So we've got some really good players that are sitting out. Now, three of those are, because of issues with injury. Well, maybe four exactly. But Adam Scott, just it doesn't fit his schedule. He didn't want to play. So Koepka's, I don't know if you saw the pictures of his knee in the brace and walking around on crutches. So he doesn't look good for the Masters. He's not playing this week. He doesn't look good for the Masters. Rose is having back issues. Woodland is sitting out. He had to sit out the Honda Classic because of COVID, and he wouldn't have been off quarantine for tomorrow's first round. So he couldn't just take a loss. He has to tee it up in the first round. So he had the WD. So we've got Ian Poulter, Eric Von Ruin, Adam Long, JT Poston, and Dylan Fertilli taking those places. So I'll just leave it at that and let you talk, and we'll cover some of this other stuff as we go along.
Well, I'm excited because I love match play. And unfortunately, this is the only official head to head match play event on the PGA Tour schedule. I wish it could be more. Now, how do they play it? They divide it in 16 4-player groups of round robin competition. The players will receive 1 point for a win in group play and a half point for a tie. So there's no extra holes on this round robin. Now, with the player with the highest point total in each group will advance to the Sweet 16, right? So just making, I don't want to talk about the NCAA March Madness bracket.
Oh my! Don't talk about me. Ohio State went out. Oral Roberts.
No. I mean, this has been the worst year in my bracket. So let's go to another Sweet 16. This one hopefully will do better. But anyway, it'll be 16 elimination matches afterwards. You mentioned it. I mean, this field, 64 of the top 69 players in the world right now. Only players out: Adam Scott, Justin Rose, Tiger Woods, and Gary Woodland. You mentioned Ian Poulter, Erik van Rooyen, Adam Long, JT Boston, Dylan Fertelli are the ones in. 22 players of these are making their match play debut. So they should be excited about this, and we're going to talk about them. But no player, if there's an open on this, no player has ever won the match play and then won the FedEx Cup the same season. So if you want to win the $15 million, just don't win here. Forget about it. Let's just pass it on. I mean, ask Tiger what he did. But anyway, this event was canceled last year due to the coronavirus pandemic, so we'll have it again. We'll talk more about the players shortly, but keep in mind that Dylan Fertelli, Jordan Spieth, and Scotty Scheffler played a lot here around some practice at the Austin Country Club because they were stars there at the University of Texas. So if there is any home field advantage, that would be them, all those three. But Fred, question on this, and the course, the Austin Country Club, not well known around. We have been seeing it now with the WGC. How do you see it? I mean, what we've seen, I haven't been able to go to it, but what we see on the TV, it's not something that is going to favor one or another player for what we have seen. So it's perfect for match play. But match play is very different from what we see every day. Okay, here you're not playing. If you have a bad round, then you come back the next day, you have moving Saturday and all this stuff. No, if you don't do it this time, you're gonna be in problems. So this is a test of endurance as well. You're gonna play 7 matches to win. It's not easy in 5 days. So not necessarily maybe the best player is gonna win here.
You know, you make a really good point. Number one, Austin Country Club is not well known, although it was the home of Harvey Penick, who also taught Tom Kite and Ben Crenshaw to play the game on this golf course. So, you know, it's pretty well known in the Texas area. It was opened in 1899, so I think it's one of the oldest golf courses in Texas. But it's a little quirky. You know, I've only really seen it on the TV. There's some holes that play over some deep depressions, some caverns kind of thing. There's, you know, just it plays along some railroad tracks and some different stuff. It's like I say, it's a little quirky, but that's what makes it perfect for match play, because every hole is a little tournament in itself. And if a guy wants to take a risk and he makes a double bogey or triple, no big deal. He just loses that hole. Get it back on the next hole. You got 18 of them. So it really, match play tends to lean towards the guys that like to take a lot of risk. Now, I was never able to do that. I always tried to just keep it in play and let the other guy beat himself. Okay. And that doesn't always work. You can play a really good round of golf, but the other guy throws in a bunch of birdies, and so he makes a couple doubles, no big deal. But if he makes more birdies than you do, he wins. So it's really, a guy could play really well and still lose in match play. So it's really a tough thing to figure. But Austin Country Club really is a good place for something like this because of the risk reward on some of the holes. It makes it exciting.
We can see it by the winners. If you come to think about it, we see Bubba Watson, DJ, Jason Day, even the defending champion is Kevin Kisner, but players that go with what you're saying, risk reward, right? But with Kevin, it's more about the consistency and also, you know, the mindset of playing match play. It has to be there. Otherwise, you're not gonna survive here past the round because you have to be. And one of the things, like you mentioned, just to close it before we go to each group, is that I agree. If you really lose a hole, you can just come back on the next one. But the problem is also that you have to make sure you don't fall back too far, because then you're going to be climbing a wall and you're not going to be able to do it. So you have 18 holes, yes, but you gotta take your rewards, your risk and your reward somewhere, and try to put, because you're competing against the other one. You're not gonna settle just for the tie and the 1.5 point. You have to try to win the whole point as well.
The other problem with match play is if you get down, you end up shorting the match. Okay, so let's say you get 2 down after the front 9. Now you've only got 5 more holes to make something happen. Okay, because you throw out 17 and 18 because you won't get that far. If you're 2 down, the match is going to be over before you get there. So it behooves, and 3 down in match play is pretty much death. It's especially at the pro level. It's really hard to come back at 3 down. Now, if you start going birdie, eagle, birdie or something, yeah, you make it up pretty fast, but that doesn't happen all the time. Like we saw JT do, you know, at the WGC there a while back, but or at the Players, I'm sorry. But yeah, match play is a little different animal, and it's fun to watch. We don't get much of it because it just doesn't lend itself well to TV. A match could be over in 12 holes, and then you got all that dead air time. What are they going to do? Or a match could run over to 22 or 23 holes. Now you're overtime. How are you going to cover it? So it's really a tough animal for TV. But this round robin assures all the guys that come to at least get 3 rounds in, okay? Where before they had it, you come out, you lose your first match, boom, you're out of there. You know, of the 64 guys, 32 guys were going home after the first night. So fly all that way, play one round, you're going home. It didn't work. So they came up with a round robin idea. I think that I kind of like that actually. But I'm telling you, some of the brackets are really hard, and some of the brackets look like they're a lot easier. So I know we're going to talk about that as we go through here. But I was surprised at what some of the brackets look like.
Yeah, and remember they're made because of the rankings of the players. So it's like you have to get the number one, and then you divide them in the 64. You have to divide them in 16 groups. Then they're going to be subgroups per every level, and that's how they sort them out. But let's talk about the group one. Of course, got to be the world's number one, Dustin Johnson. Then number 28, Kevin Na. 41st, Robert McIntyre, and 61st, Adam Long. DJ won it back in 2017, but he has not made it out of the group stage the last two events. He has been ranked number one in the world since August, winning 3 times. Kevin Na, we know that he won earlier this year at the Sony Open, made it to the quarterfinals in 2019. He's a good match play player. McIntyre and Long are both making their tournament debuts, and I'm sure that our colleague Kieran Clark is pulling for Robert McIntyre. The lefty is going to be looking forward here. Missed a cut at the Players. Long has missed 5 of his last 6 cuts. So I don't know, Fred. It looks pretty favorable for DJ to win this one, even though he has not made it out of the group match the last 2 events.
I have this down as the easiest group of the bunch. If Dustin Johnson doesn't win this and go to the round of the Sweet 16, I will be very surprised. Kevin Na could get hot. The last time we saw him, he was making an 8 on number 17 at the Players. So he could come out with a vengeance. And he could, if he could beat McIntyre and Long and just get a half with DJ, he's in, and DJ, would have to win all 3 to beat him, or, go to a playoff or something. So it, again, and the match play is a little different deal, with those 3 matches, you've got to do your best in each one. You can lose one and still get out. You can go 2-1 and still get out, but it's really dependent on the other guy. So if, let's say Dustin loses one of his matches and goes 2-1, and Na goes 2-0-1, and he has a tie, he wins, and Johnson goes home. So it's sometimes it's out of your hands. You don't have control. The best thing is just win every match and get 3-0 and you move on. But Carlos, this looks like the easiest grouping for Dustin Johnson to me of all the, which he's the number 1 seed, so he should get the easiest grouping, right?
It does, and you make a very good point. But if there's somebody that could make it, I have to agree with you. It has to be Kevin Na, because there's one thing, let's say 2 things that could work in his favor. His demeanor on the course, it doesn't go with a lot of players, so he could get into under the skin of some players, playing alongside with them, and then if you just don't manage that, you could lose very easily. And he's not afraid. So hey, anything can happen, but I agree with you. DJ should win it. Now, group 2 is Justin Thomas. He's done the number 2. Louis Oosthuizen, number 22. Defending champion Kevin Kisner in number 52. Matt Kusher. JT's just fresh off his win at TPC Torres. He has drawn the 2 finalists of the last time this tournament was held, because it was Kevin and Kevin Kushner, right? Kisner beat Kushner in the final 2 years ago. And if people don't remember, Kevin Kisner was the finalist the year before. Kusher is incredible, Fred. I cannot believe the dramatic fall that he has had since his run to the final 2 years ago. He has dropped out of the top 50 in the world for the first time since 2015. We used to call him ATM Kusher. What happened with him? Louis Oosthuizen was a runner-up in 2016. He has won his group 3 of the last 4 years in the event. That's a very good match play player. So Fred, JT has failed to advance to the knockout round in 2019, but finished 4th the prior before. This could come down to a Friday duel between a pair of major champs.
I think this is one of the toughest groups there is. And it's just because of the rankings right now. With Kusher is still a good player, right? He's still capable of going out and beating anybody pretty much. Even though he's getting a little bit older, the courses are getting a little bit long for him and that kind of thing. But on a course like this, he knows the course. He's been there. He's done that. He could do very well in this thing. So, and Kisner, you know how much I love Kevin Kisner. Matter of fact, I still pick him to be in the semifinals and the finals. I think he's going to be in the top 4 when we get all said and done. But you got to get past Oosthuizen, you got to get past Thomas. I don't think Thomas is going to get out of this group unless he plays some fantastic golf. These guys are going to take turns beating up on each other, and you could have. I very easily see 2 guys 1 and 2 and 2 guys 2 and 1 in this thing, or you could have a couple of ties. You could have 2-0 and 2 in this group, and that could win it. 2-0 and 2 could win it with 2 ties. So it's a tough group, really, really tough group, and this will be a good one to watch.
Yeah, so that means you're picking Kevin Kisner to win this group, because if you see him going,
he's got to win to get on. Yep.
All right. So I hate picking against JT, but I totally agree. I don't see him. This is such an incredible group, and there are three players that he has to play that are really mental tough, and I don't know. I'm gonna pick Louis Oosthuizen. Yeah, that's my pick. We'll see. Anyway, moving on to group number 3: John Ram, Ryan Palmer, Shane Lowry, and Sebastian Munoz. John Ram made it to the finals when he debuted in 2017. He failed to get out of the group stage the next 2 times he has played. His T9 finish at the Players was his 6th top 10 finish in his last 8 starts. Ryan Palmer, he hasn't played this event since 2015 when it was held at TPC Harding Park. But his 2021 results included the runner-up at Torrey Pines and a 4th place finish at Kapalua. But hey, this is match play. This is not stroke play. Shane Lowry broke out of a lengthy slide with that top 10 finish that we mentioned at TPC Sawgrass, but he struggled then over the weekend at the Honda after playing his way into the mix. While Sebastian Munoz made it to the Tour Championship last season, hasn't cracked the top 10 since. Fred, John Ram hasn't been doing very well in this tournament, but I don't see him losing here. Maybe Shane Lowry can push him to the brink, but I still see John Ram winning this group.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I've got Lowry coming out of this group. I like Shane Lowry. He's been playing a little bit better of late. Yeah, he's had some but see, that doesn't matter. You can miss a couple holes and still be in pretty good shape, right, in match play. So the sleeper to me might be Sebastian Munoz, because he's been playing pretty good, but this is a pretty big stage for him. I don't know if he's ready for something like this quite yet. And I really like Ryan Palmer. I see John Rahm being the 3rd guy in this group, to be quite honest with you, even though he's the top seed here. Ryan Palmer is a Texas guy. He could be somebody that really tough in this thing. He hits it relatively straight, and he putts really good when he gets hot. So, but I like Shane Lowry, and I like Ryan Palmer in this group. I don't see Rahm and Munoz getting it done.
I just think Ram has the attitude this time, and he knows what it takes to be a match play player. He just has. I just think he has it this week, and we'll talk about it and we'll see how it works out. But I agree. I mean, Ryan and Shane Lowry is a great player. Sebastian is a good match player as well. So it's not an easy group, but I still think the click on John Ram's attitude this week is going to be enough to overcome those players. But we'll see. Anyway, I know you like this one, Group 4, because Colin Morikawa, your guys here, Billy Horschel, Max Homa, and JT Poston are here. Morikawa won the first WGC event of the year. He mixed some elite ball striking with some streaky putting, and that could be key to win here as well. Now, but the work on the greens remains hit or miss late. I mean, I've seen his last start at Sawgrass wasn't that bright in that sense, but hey, still one of the top here. Max Homa's red hot run through the early year included a win at Riviera, a top 10 at Pebble Beach and Bay Hill. That's a very red hot player. Billy Horschel has yet to advance out of the group stage since the event switched formats. Poston is making his tournament debut. He seems overwhelmed here. I have to say Morikawa could be a tough out, despite the fact that he was playing the Goodwin Collegiate event. The last time this tournament was here, I don't see him playing out of this group. Not passing. I think he'll pass. But I am looking forward to his match with Max Homa. Max Homa is playing really well.
I think the biggest threat to Colin here is Billy Horschel, who's been playing pretty well this year, all in all. We've seen him on TV a lot. He's, in the mix on the leaderboards a lot this year. Seems to have a good attitude, playing quite well. But I like you. I think Colin Morikawa comes out of this one. I think this is. I think he gets to the 16 for sure. And again, this is what we're looking at. Here's a steady guy, right? Fairways, greens, make a putt. He's not been putting all that great of late, so hopefully he's got that ironed out. And if he's putting okay, then I think he gets out of here without a problem.
Yeah, he should. Definitely is the class of that group. Now, group number 5 is one that's going to get a lot of play because it's Bryson DeChambeau, Tommy Fleetwood, Siwoo Kim, and Antoine Rosner. Much has changed for DeChambeau since his 2019 debut. I mean, just look at him side by side in pictures. You're just going to see how much the change is. He went 1 and 2 that time, failed to advance as the top seed of the group. He's again the man to beat this time around. Group with a top-tier talent in Tommy Fleetwood, who missed the cut at Sawgrass following a top 10 at Bay Hill. Siwoo Kim, that's a guy that is like a hit or miss. He can be deadly in this format, and his highs include a win in Poulter. So he could be, but we'll see. He made the round of 16 here in 2018, but lost all 3 matches the following year. So that's the hit or miss in him. For Rosner, he's one of those late entries into the field that we mentioned. He made a very timely move in the official World Golf rankings with his win 2 weeks ago in Qatar. He's a very good player as well, but not one that we haven't seen much this side of the pond. Fred, to me, given that Tommy Fleetwood has been a little spotty this year, it would be somewhat surprised if anyone but DeChambeau advances. So I'm going to give it to Bryce.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one too a little bit. I don't think Bryson wins this group. Matter of fact, I kind of like Siwoo Kim, and I really like Tommy Fleetwood. Fleetwood has the match play experience. He's been doing it for the European Ryder Cup team for a long time. I like Fleetwood. He's a really good iron player. And the same reason for Siwoo Kim, he's a really good iron player. So if they get hot and make some putts, they can beat these other guys. So I really want to see the Fleetwood DeChambeau match. I really do want to see that. But the Fleetwood Siwoo Kim, I think, could be one of the best matches of the whole thing. I see them tied after 18 going to extra holes because they play a very similar game.
They could, but remember, they're not playing extra holes in the competition, in the match competition. And
they go tie.
Yeah, so they would tie there. But no, I mean, they are. I just think they haven't been that consistent lately. But again, this is a different format. It's not stroke play. So, and like you mentioned, I mean, we remember Tommy Fleetwood and Francesco Molinari, how they just beat out everybody at the Ryder Cup. So definitely I agree. I just see, oh man, you're making me change my pick. Because I wanted to pick Tommy Fleetwood. It's just that I haven't seen him playing that well lately.
He's not played that well this year so far, no.
Yeah, so that's just the reason why I have to go with Bryson there. But anyway, let's move on to Group 6. Maybe I'll change my pick before the end of the show. Xander Schauffele, Scotty Scheffler, Jason Day, and Andy Sullivan. And let me tell you, this group is very, very interesting. I mean,
it is.
If you're a bettor trying to see who's going to win, Jason Day, the 57th seed in the whole field. I mean, he just won it some years ago, and he's a very good player. Unfortunately, injury has stricken him, and that's the reason why you see that he may not be that favorite right now or have a higher ranking. But if you see him, part of his match play acumen includes his titles and this event in 2014 in Arizona, 2016 when he's in Austin. 2 years ago, though, he went 0-3. Again, injuries have been the downfall for him. Xander Schauffele has made it out of the group stage in his 2 prior appearances. One of the best money players in the world right now for the past few years. He has plenty of experience at this particular venue, given that he played also at the UT. Sullivan is playing this event for the first time since 2017. but he's another very dynamic player. Fred, a very good group. Tough to pick somebody to come out of it. And even though my guy is Xander Schauffele, I'm going to go with Jason Day. I just think this is his group to win.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to pick I can't pick a winner out of this group. I really, as you know, I mean, really like Xander Schauffele. And really for the same reasons I like Colin Morikawa in one of the other groups. He's just steady and he's really good in big events. So Scotty Scheffler coming off that great year last year, you know, he's got some experience here, all that stuff. So you can't count him out. Jason Day's been playing better of late, says he's injury-free now, says he's feeling better and he's felt for a long, long time. Andy Sullivan, unknown quality, don't expect much out of him. But those top three, Jason Day, Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, you pick them. I can't. I don't see it could go any which way for those three guys.
It could be. I think it's the toughest group to pick, honestly, of all the 16 groups. I really, it's tough.
I think there's one other group that might be tougher, and we'll get to it in a minute, but this is definitely one of the top 2 or 3.
All right, so let's get going. So Group 7 is Patrick Reed, Joaquin Niemann, Kristen Besuidenhout, and Bubba Watson. Watson won in this event in dominant fashion 3 years ago. I mean, it was like he was a world beater, but he's in a prolonged slide and now bringing up the rear in a group headlined by a fellow Masters champ, right? Patrick Reed, Captain America, match play bona fide. He's well known at this point, although he has never advanced past the round of 16 in 6 prior appearances, but that means he's made it there. Now, Joaquin Niemann and Besuidenhout are both newcomers. Besuidenhout ended 2020 with a pair of wins back there in South Africa, while Niemann, he notched back-to-back runner-up finishes in Hawaii to start 2021. He was among the favorites there at last weekend, the Honda Classic. Finished T25, so he should pose maybe the biggest threat to Patrick Reed here. And Bubba Watson, I would pick him otherwise, but I haven't seen him enough playing well this time, so I'll have to see. I would love for my guy Joaquin to win this one, and he could bring Patrick Reed down, but I have to go with Patrick because of the experience.
Yeah, I think this is probably Patrick's to win. He's pretty good match play, although Joaquin Niemann seems to have the attitude that, you know, you're not going to beat me, sucker. I'm going to do what it takes, you know, to win. He's got that grit and determination. I really like his attitude when he's into it and into the competition. So I think Joaquin could have a chance. It comes down to the head-to-head match with Reed and then how Reed does against Bubba and Bezuidenhout. So that's, you know, it's probably, let's say it's Patrick's to lose, okay? If he doesn't do well against the bottom 2 guys, Bubba and Christian Bezuidenhout, then he's going to be out. But Joaquin Niemann could be a force in this thing.
It could be. Now go to Group 8, which is the All-Europe group. Lee Westwood finally ran out of gas last week. I was like, where is he? I thought he was going to be at top of the leaderboard again. He missed the cut at the Honda after back-to-back runner-up finishes. I guess it was because Bryson wasn't playing, so he wasn't just I'm not going to play well. So
he had to be out of gas. He had to be running on fumes, man.
Yeah, Hatton has thrived in recent months, struggled in some of the bigger events, a trend that continued with a miscut at the Players. Sergio, hey, he made the quarterfinals 2 years ago, finished T9 at TPC Sawgrass, while Wallace failed to get out of the group stage 2 years ago, his lone previous appearance. So a very nice group here, but I got to go with my guy, Sergio. I think he has to lead. I think he should be out of gas again, and he's not going to make it all this 7 matches to win it here. There's no way he has the form to do that. Tyrell, he would have been my pick, but he's not playing well enough. Got to go with Sergio.
You got the Sergio pick in there. I like it. Now, this is one of the other tough groups right here because you got Hatton that's been playing at a very high level for the last year or so. Lee Westwood, we know he's been playing well, and he's a consistent player. He may not win it, but he could win this group, you know, in three matches. He could come out of here. And then Sergio, Sergio hasn't been playing that badly either. He's been playing pretty decent. And Matt Wallace, we know that he can play well. So, he's got 4 or 5 wins in Europe, something like that. So this is one of those really tough groups. I don't know. I kind of like Lee Westwood coming out of here. Just for some reason, I think he had to be tired last week. He went home early, took the weekend off, go to Texas, get the practice round in and go play. So he's got three nice matches here to work into the weekend. I don't know. I like Lee in this thing because to me, this is an iron player's golf course. Now, Sergio's a great iron player, no question about it. Tyra Hatton, good iron player. Lee Westwood, really, really good iron player. So I will see. I like Lee Westwood coming out of this group.
The best thing about that all Europe group is that all 4 are fiery guys. I mean, we're going to see a lot of action, maybe some trash talking. I can't wait to see whatever we can from that group because they know each other very well. They have played a lot of times together. So that's going to be a fun group I would just love to be there just watching them go at it in their group.
That'll be a good match to watch.
Definitely. Group 9 is Webb Simpson, Paul Casey, Mackenzie Hughes, and Taylor Gooch. This is one of 2 groups where the top seed isn't the betting favorite here, whether you believe it or not, because Paul Casey has a strong match play record, including a pair of runner-ups when this was played in Arizona and a match play title in the European Tour. So he's one of the best match play players in the world. But he hasn't also finished worse than T12 in any starts in the Masters. So Paul Casey definitely is one of those players. Simpson has shown inconsistent form this year, struggled mightily on this particular course, went 1-6-2 in 3 previous appearances. Hughes made the Tour Championship last year, hasn't cracked the top 10 since November, while Gush is making his debut. So Fred, I just gotta go with the sure thing here. Paul Casey, strong match play record. I don't see him losing this one.
And I certainly can sympathize with that pick. Paul Casey could easily win this group. This is one of the easier groupings to me. I don't give Mackenzie Hughes or Taylor Gooch much of a chance of doing anything in this thing. So it comes down to Casey and Simpson. I think Simpson is a little bit more consistent. And it comes back to the Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele kind of thing. Lee Westwood, right? They're very consistent. And let these other guys make the mistakes and they just keep it in, get their birdies where they can and shoot decent scores. So I think Webb Simpson comes out of here. I'm not a big Paul Casey fan, although he has been playing well over the last couple years. But I don't think he has the grit that it takes to do well in match play. Webb Simpson really does.
Good record in match play.
Webb Simpson seems like Mr. Quiet Milquetoast, right? But he wants to beat you every time out there. So I'll take Webb out of this group.
Well, 1-6-2 for Webb Simpson the past few times doesn't inspire confidence for me.
I know.
Which is really, and Paul Casey, remember, he's playing to make sure he is in the Ryder Cup this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that he hasn't missed a beat since the Masters last year. Hasn't finished worse than T12 anywhere in the world. That's amazing streak of play for Paul Casey.
He's been playing really well.
He's at top of his game right now. Group 10, Patrick Cantley, Hideki Matsuyama, Carlos Ortiz, Brian Harmon. This is a very tough play for me because 3 players that I love to watch in Cantley, Matsuyama, and Ortiz. So it's going to be tough. Cantley has put up some strong results already, coming off a surprising miscut of the players. I mean, he could face a challenge to make this round of 16. With Hideki, man, his putter is always a question, and he has been a particular liability in this format. He has made it to the round of 16 just once in his 6 prior appearances. Carlos Ortiz, he's playing under the Mexican flag, but he's a Texas resident and he went to a school at North Texas. So he's pretty familiar in the Lone Star State, especially having notched his maiden tour last fall in Houston. Harmon, Hey, he has been the quiet guy, bouncing back in recent months, including a T3 and a finish at the Players. He won his group in 2018, the only time he has played before here in Austin. So, wow, Fred, this is a tough one for me. Really, this is the one that I am like, who am I going to pick? I don't know, because I would like to pick Patrick. I would like to pick Hideki, Ortiz, but the better in me says I gotta go with the hot hand, and it comes down to Patrick and Carlos, and I'm gonna go with Patrick.
Yeah, you can't hardly go wrong picking Patrick Cantley. Although this is one of those little sleeper deals, right? Brian Harmon is a bulldog. He's out of Georgia, but he is a bulldog, and you know, he's kind of got that short man syndrome. He wants to show everybody, that he's, he can compete. He could come out of this thing. Brian Harmon could come out of this group. If Patrick Cantley isn't playing at a good level, Hideki, I don't know. Hideki's so up and down. You just never know what you're going to get out of him. And Carlos Ortiz, good player, but I don't think he's quite the level of these other guys. And we're seeing Harmon, he came off just a couple of weeks ago. He had a really good tournament. So I don't know. I can't pick somebody out of this. I guess Cantley, you'd have to give Cantley the edge. But I kind of like Brian Harmon in this group, to be quite honest with you.
Hey, anyone can win, but it's a very tough group. But I gotta go with the hot hand. If you're gonna bet, I gotta go with that one, and that's Patrick Cantley. Now 11, Group 11 is an amazing one because of one thing that we're gonna talk pretty soon: Rory McIlroy, Cameron Smith, Lanto Griffin, and Ian Poulter. The question is, which Rory McIlroy is gonna show up? Okay, because he was all out of sorts at TPC Sawgrass. He has added Pete Cohen to the mix as a swing consultant. He's not anymore with Diamond in his bag, so he looks to get things back on track. Will he just make it just this week after taking 1 week off? I mean, his opening match with Ian Poulter, I think that's the key there, because it will be one of the most intriguing matches on Wednesday, and a win there could go a long way towards getting him out of that group play. Cameron Smith made the quarterfinals here in 2018, comes in with 3 straight finishes of T17 or better, while Lanto won 2 years ago in Houston, had finished T7 35 or better in each of his last 5 starts. Fred, it is a very tempting, if you're betting or trying to pick, right? It's very tempting to go with Ian Poulter because he's a legendary match play player, has a legendary match play record, but it really hasn't exactly translated to this venue in recent years. Anything can happen. He could be under, Rory's skin and making miss, but I still think Rory will come out of
that. I think Cameron Smith's going to be the guy to watch in this group, to be quite honest with you. Rory's just been too inconsistent, although inconsistent works in match play, right? You can have a couple bad holes and you're still all right. We already established that. So, and the other thing I do like going to Pete Cowan, if he will listen to Pete Cowan, he will get him straightened out, and it won't take that long. That's what I was telling you, not too long ago, we were talking about Rory. He could be back playing at a top level within a week or 10 days. It wouldn't take that long because he knows what to do. He just needs somebody to help him get there. And Pete Cowan's the guy to do that. So I do like Cameron Smith, though. He's another one of those guys that's just real gritty. He doesn't give up on a hole. He's always grinding. So I like Cameron Smith in this group coming out of here. I don't think Ian's played enough. I don't think he's played that well. He's a good match player, but I don't see him coming out here. Lanto Griffin, again, he's really playing pretty well, but not quite at the level that needs to be over 3 rounds. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cameron Smith won this group.
All right. I just think it's just a little too much for him to go out and beat 2 very good match players, very experienced on this format, like Rory McIlroy and Ian Poulter. Even though Ian Poulter has not been playing well, he doesn't have to be playing well to play well in match play. We know that
Right.
because we've seen him and Sergio do it in the Ryder Cup. This is just another thing that we have to keep in mind. The Ryder Cup is this year, so you have to make sure this is the show for those European players that want to make it, that are out and are hoping to say, hey, I want to be that captain's pick. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I just don't think Cameron can beat either of those two. Now, Group 12 is a very interesting one with Tony Finau leading that one, Jason Kokrak, Will Zalatoris, and Dylan Fratelli. There's an argument that you can make for each of the top three players in this group. And even if you want, you can make it for Dylan Fratelli as well. Because Finau's record of close calls, we keep talking about it every week. I mean, this is well established, including a playoff loss last month at the Riviera. But he hasn't won his group in 2 prior attempts here in Austin. Kokrak has leveled up his win in the CJ Cup in the fall, including a run of 3 straight top 10 finishes in Florida. My eyes, he could pose a very serious threat to Tony in this one. Then comes my guy, Will Zalatoris. I mean, he's playing amazing. Yeah, it's given that he's making his debut, but he continues to demonstrate that his game belongs at this level. Fratelli, hey, he played here. I mentioned at the beginning of the show that his days from here at the UT, he has the experience here in Austin, but he'll have to come through in spades to advance as a deserved long shot in this quartet. So I'm gonna go. It's tough. Like I said, I could go Tony, Jason, or Will. And I'm going to go, and I'm sorry, I have to go with Will Zalatoris, man. I just think it's his time. Sorry, Tony, you haven't made it out of your group yet. So I got to go with Will. It's his time.
I don't see Tony winning the group either. My heart wants to pick Jason Kokrak because he's an Ohio guy. And I can't come to the fact that Will Zalatoris is seasoned enough yet to beat, these top quality players one-on-one to get enough points to get out of here. Dylan Fratelli is one of these guys that got in because somebody else had to drop out. So I don't know. This is a pick'em. This is just a pick'em group. I'm not really high on anybody in this group, and it would not surprise me if any one of the 4 won it.
So this is the 4th group you haven't picked one. Come on, you got
no. It's only this is only the first group I haven't picked anybody.
No, you haven't picked. You go
I got to pick
them. Mention you the groups, man. You got to pick somebody. Man.
All right, I'm going to pick Kokrak just because he's an Ohio guy.
Oh man, there you go. Okay. That's the way it is.
But I'm not real confident with it. How about that?
All right, it works. It works. Anyway,
right.
Victor Hovland, Abraham Ancer, Bernd Wiesberger, and Kevin Streelman make up Group 13. Hovland finally, like Lee Westwood, ran out of steam fading over the weekend at Bay Hill before missing the cut at Sawgrass. So he's not coming in good form if you count those last 2. But hey, he's a former U.S. amateur champ. Well, spoken of his love for match play format, and he wants to be in the Ryder Cup because he could be a tough out both in this group and beyond. Abraham Ancer, another very good player, but he's in quite at the level that he reached during his run to the 2019 President's Cup. Has fallen off a little bit, but he does enter off a pair of top 25 finishes, while Kevin Streelman is making his first start here since 2014, but that was back in Arizona. He has hopes of moving up in the world rankings just in time to try to earn a Masters berth. And Bernd Wiesberger, he's the 3rd seed of the PUD, but 4th in the odds. So his T6 finish in Dubai remains his lone highlight of 6 worldwide starts this year. So Fred, 3 players that haven't been working fine lately in Abraham Ancer, Wiesberger, and Streelman. Hovland has 2 very bad last shots, but I still think Hovland is going to be very tough to beat him here. He'll bounce back, and he has enough to beat this 3.
Yeah, I agree with you. I matter of fact, I think this is probably one of the easier groups. And I would be very surprised if Victor Hovland doesn't come out of here. Abraham Ancer, nice player, but not for this. Bernd Wiesberger, good player in Europe, but not so much over here. Kevin Streelman. And I guess the biggest competition for Hovland in this group, I think, is Streelman. But I think Hovland will win.
All right. We agree on that one. Let's go to the next one, 14. I know you like this one too, because it's Daniel Berger there. Harris English, Brendan Todd, and Eric Van Rooyen. Wow, Berger is a big of a question mark at the top. He withdrew from last week's event at the PGA National. He was expected to be one of the favorites there, but he's nursing a lingering rib injury, which doesn't bode well for 7 matches to try to win here, especially 3 to get out of the group. Likewise, the last time we saw English, it was announced his withdrawals from the Players. So there's another question. That might open the door for the lower 2 seats of this group, as Brendan Todd is making his first appearance since he played in 2015 at Harding Park and appears to be finding some form, doing a T18 finish at this year's first WGC event, while Van Rooyen is making his debut, but with no finish better than T37 in 7 worldwide starts this year. It's tough to see him advancing out of somewhat an unpredictable group. So Fred, because of that uncertainty in Daniel and Harris, are they healthy? Can they do it? Brendan Todd hasn't been playing as well. I mean, this group makes it difficult to pick one, but if I have to pick one, I'll have to say, well, I'll go with Daniel, even though I know he withdrew from the PGA National last week. So I gotta go with him. But again, I'm not too confident because of, like you're saying, right? I'll go with that one.
Well, I mean, this could come down to kind of like the survival of the fittest, right? You got guys battling injury and different things. Nobody's really coming in on a hot streak. Yeah, I mean, you'd like to pick Daniel Berger because he's the lowest seed, but he's number 14 in the world, so he's not that far away from English. English was playing such great golf, last year, that we thought, maybe he's really back and maybe he can regain that form. If he would get back to where he was playing, he would win this group probably easily. Brendan Todd, he's okay. I just don't see him coming out here. I don't see Van Rooyen coming out here. So by process of elimination, it's got to be either English or Berger. So I'm kind of like you. I guess I'll go with Berger. He's the lowest seed, although not with a lot of confidence.
All right, 2 more groups, and group 15 is one that I think is on its head, and I'll explain why. Because Matthew Fitzpatrick is the highest seed, then Matthew Wolff, Corey Connors, Jordan Spieth is the lowest. So that's why I think, because the bettors have switched it back, and now the bettors have Spieth as the betting favorite, despite being the lowest ranked player. We'll talk about that soon. It speaks to both his recent resurgence and his familiarity with given his noted ties to Austin, and also Fred. We have to talk about quickly. Finally, we know what really caused his slump. He revealed prior to this tournament in the press groups that it was because of an injury that happened to him. He hasn't disclosed what it was, but he has admitted that it affected his swing. Okay, so now we know what really was going on with him. He says he's feeling at the point that he's nearly close to where he can do what he thinks he's able to do. So, and it actually fits. We have seen him trying to go back to the top, that inconsistent on Sundays, and he's been inconsistent with his shot sometimes, but it seems like he's coming back right on time. And if this was the reason for it, he said, look, if I would do this again, maybe I would do the surgery. He didn't have surgery, but he said it was one of those things that maybe it wasn't that much of a big deal if he would have taken the surgery. But again, Fred, it seems like he is back in form and he's just battling his way back to consistency. So to finish this group, Fitzpatrick is no slouch. I mean, he's coming in with 4 straight T11 finishes or better. And both him and Spieth are USGA title winners among their match play credentials. Connors is the player that we have been talking about a lot, top of the leaderboards, and it seems like it's just inevitable when he's going to win his tournament. He nearly won it, but he'll follow it with 7th place at Sawgrass. What Matthew Wolff Hey, right now he's a long shot in the betters here because of his recent injury struggles. The fact that the last round he played was an 83 at concession, but it wouldn't be a surprise to see any of those to win this closely contested group. To me, it's the second toughest group to pick somebody. But I have been on the Jordan Spieth bandwagon for the past 2 years, and now that I know what happened to him, I'm more than ever going with him all the way.
Well, I disagree with you a little bit. I think this is the toughest group to pick, to be quite honest with you. And it's because Jordan Spieth is clear down like a 49 seed. Corey Connors been playing at a very high level the last month. Matt Wolff, we know he's got some injury issues, so I'm going to write him off out of this. But he could jump up and bite you. And Matt Fitzpatrick is one of those steady guys, like I talk about. Webb Simpson, Xander Schauffele, Matt Wolff, Colin Morikawa. They're steady. They let the other guys make a mistake. So, but I think Jordan Spieth is on a mission to get back where he wants to be. You're in Texas, right? He's a Texas guy. He's been playing well. His problems have been over the course of a week in stroke play. He'll have 2 or 3 bad holes that mess up his whole week. 2 or 3 bad holes in this deal isn't going to kill him. He can come back and do his thing and be right in it. So I like Jordan Spieth to be in the finals. So if that happens, he's got to win this. So I'm picking Spieth out of here for sure.
All right. So we at least agree on that. We don't agree on the toughest group, but yeah, we agree on Jordan. Now let's go to the last one before we make our closing picks. And that is Sungjae Im, Victor Perez, Mark Leishman, and Russell Henley. Im is the lowest ranked player in Group A. He draws an intriguing lineup that features Russell Henley as his closest competition. Im finished T8 last week in defense of his Honda title. Has been solid. I mean, great player throughout the Florida swing. Finished T28 at the concession. He'll make his tournament debut. Henley is a streaky putter, and he's just making his second shot at the bracket since 2015. Perez shows signs of promise at TPC Sawgrass, rallying to make the cut before getting hot over the weekend en route to a T9 result, while Mark Leishman is bringing up the rear despite winning his group 2 out of the last 3 years. That's a sign that the veteran remains out of sorts. But that opening match, I think, Fred, between Im and Henley will go a long way determining who advances to a possible round of 16 with a matchup with the one winning in the group number 1. So which could be DJ, right? So we'll see. But to me, Sungjae Im will beat Russell Henley and move out of this group.
A lot of experts are picking Victor Perez out of this group. So when I was researching and looking around earlier, but I'm kind of like you. I think Sungjae Im's kind of tough to beat. He's so steady, plays so much, and I'll be surprised if Perez gets the nod out of here. But it could be close. And the match to watch out of this would be Im and Perez, I think, because that'll help tell who's going to come out of here for sure. But I think this is probably one of the easier groups of the things. But I'm like you. I think Sungjae Im probably has the edge here.
Okay, so let's pick 4 players to win this in order. Which are your top 4 players?
All right. So let me see where I got that. I got to move back here. Okay. All right. I always like Kisner in match play, right? And as we said, it's going to be tough for him to get out of his group, but I got to pick Kevin Kisner. All right. Patrick Reed is so tough to bet against in match play, but again, will he get out of his group? As we were talking about, there's some other people in there that are really tough. So my number 1 coming out of here is Spieth for sure. All right. And I really think, DJ kind of fell down a couple tournaments, but I think he'll be back and ready to go. He's had some time off. I think he'll be ready to go in this thing. So if I got to pick, it's DJ, it's Spieth, possibly Reed, and then Kisner.
All right. Well, I cannot pick Kisner because I'm picking Louis Oosthuizen over him to win that group. So
yep.
Yeah, that's the reason. But Louis Oosthuizen is one of my favorites to win. But I agree with you. To me, I'm going all the way with Jordan. I think this is the time for him. This is the specific way that he can get away with those misses that he's been doing, and this will bring him his confidence back up. This is the tournament he needs to win to get back in form up here. That's all that's left for him. He says he feels good to the point that it's not that injury is not bothering him anymore. He just needs to make sure he figures out how to be that consistent again. So that's why I think it's between him. I think Paul Casey is going to be another player that is going to be going deep. Louis Oosthuizen, and I think, and I can't. I mean, I have this feeling Victor Hovland is going to go very deep here.
I like Victor as well. I do.
I like Victor a lot. So to me, the winner is going to be, if it's not Jordan Spieth, it's going to be either Victor Hovland, Paul Casey, or Louis Oosthuizen. I mean, Louis was.
Oh, you like the all international field there.
Well, Jordan Spieth is local, so.
Yeah, that's the only one.
But hey, that's the thing with the Ryder Cup and the Europeans, right? That's the way they play, and that it's just the point is that this is also like a showcase for the Ryder Cup. So we know Jordan wants to be back on it, and those other three players are very hungry to be there. So I just think is the moment, is the weight, the length of it as well takes a lot out of a lot of players. So mentally, you have to be tough, not as much as a skill, but you have to be mentally tough to win there. And I think those four have what it takes to do it and have experience on it. Victor Hovland, another U.S. amateur winner, so he has the credentials and he has the grit to do it.
It's match play. There's always surprises. There's always upsets. That's what makes match play a lot of fun. But we're kind of in agreement. I think Jordan Spieth's going to have a big week.
Yeah, he will. So with that, we wrap up the preview of the WGC Dell Match Play Championship. So if you want to see anything else from us, keep tuning on YouTube. We're going to bring more nuggets of information coming in the next weeks. Anything important happens, we'll have it for you. Recaps, previews, interviews, anything and everything golf. Have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.
Good night, everybody.